This is not the story of a battle. This is the story of how Rome learned fear. General Hasdrubal was dead. A Celtic slave took his life. Carthage needed a new leader fast. At 26, Hannibal was chosen. He had one goal: destroy Rome. But first, he had to prepare. He needed to control the land of Iberia. Hannibal picked up his sword. In 221 BC, his campaign began. He pushed his power to the Tagus River, but a huge trap was waiting. The local tribes joined together. The Carpetani tribe blocked his path. Their army was massive and dangerous. Hannibal had to use his mind. The road to Rome started here. The world was about to change. Hannibal did not attack head-on. He set up a camp in front of them. The enemy thought he was afraid. In the dark, the real game started. He left campfires burning bright. He wanted the enemy to think he stayed, but his army was already moving. By morning, Hannibal was behind them. He pretended to retreat. The tribes grew greedy and followed. They started crossing the deep river. This was Hannibal's deadly trap. The rushing water slowed them down. Hannibal released his heavy cavalry. Horses charged into the splashing water. The current became a graveyard of men. The Iberian tribes could not swing their swords. They were trapped chest deep in the flow. The cavalry cut them down like grass. Elephants crushed those who reached the shore. The river turned red with blood. His first great victory was won. Hannibal was growing too powerful. Rome finally started to worry. They made a deal with the city of Saguntum. Rome promised to protect them. This was a direct challenge to Hannibal. The old peace treaty was now broken. The Ebro River was the limit. Hannibal saw this as an act of war. He remembered his childhood oath. He swore to always be Rome's enemy. He turned his army toward Saguntum. The city walls were high and strong, but Hannibal's will was stronger. The drums of war began to beat. A new era was coming. Saguntum was now the target. In 219 BC, Hannibal reached the city. Saguntum sat high on steep cliffs. Hannibal surrounded the entire place. The people begged Rome for help, but Rome was busy fighting elsewhere. The people of Saguntum were alone. For 8 months, the battle raged. Hannibal attacked the walls relentlessly. Slowly, the defenses began to crumble. Food and water ran out. The people were starving and tired. Finally, Hannibal's men broke through. The city was filled with fire and cries. The survivors were sold into slavery. Saguntum was turned into ashes. Hannibal had challenged the giants. The fall of Saguntum shocked Rome. They demanded justice immediately. They told Carthage to hand over Hannibal. The Carthaginian Senate said no. They stood behind their young general. The Second Punic War had begun. Hannibal spent the winter planning. He was thinking of the impossible. He left his brother in charge of Iberia. Hasdrubal stayed to guard the land. He had 15,000 men and many elephants. Hannibal mixed his soldiers up. He sent Africans to Iberia and Iberians to Africa. This stopped anyone from betraying him. He was ready for the Great March. In the spring of 218 BC, he left. Hannibal had 54,000 foot soldiers. He had 8,000 fast horsemen. The army moved in 3 columns. The Ebro River was hard to cross. Hostile tribes tried to stop him. It took 2 months to clear the path. Hannibal left 10,000 men to guard the rear. Now he had 38,000 soldiers left. He also had 37 famous war elephants. The Pyrenees Mountains stood in his way. Nothing could stop his momentum. He was walking a path of no return. Rome was the only destination. The legend was being born. Rome made their move at last. General Scipio was sent to catch Hannibal. Rome's plan was to fight in Iberia. Another general sailed for Africa. They wanted to attack Hannibal's home, but they underestimated Hannibal's speed. Scipio thought Hannibal was still far away. He landed his ships near the Rhone River, but Hannibal was only 4 days away. Scipio realized he was too late. Hannibal had already made friends with locals. He paid them for a safe passage. He didn't want to waste time fighting. His eyes were fixed on Italy. The game of cat and mouse began. Hannibal reached the wide Rhone River. The water was deep and very fast. The Cavares tribe waited on the other side. They were allies of Rome. They blocked the bank with boats. Hannibal came up with a clever plan. He sent a small group up the river at night. They crossed 40 kilometers away. They hid behind the enemy's camp. The next morning, a smoke signal rose. Hannibal started crossing in open boats. The enemy waited to kill them in the water. Suddenly, Hannibal's hidden men attacked. The Cavares tribe panicked and ran. The river was open at last. Hannibal's army moved across safely. The soldiers were across the river, but the elephants were terrified. They refused to step into the deep water. Hannibal built massive wooden rafts. He covered them with dirt and grass. They looked like solid ground. The elephants were tricked onto the rafts. One by one, they were floated across. It took a whole day of hard work. Every single elephant made it. Suddenly, scouts brought news. The Roman army was very close. Scouts from both sides had clashed. Now both generals knew the truth. Hannibal had to move even faster. He headed for the high mountains. Scipio found Hannibal's camp empty. Hannibal was already gone. The Alps were now in front of him. The weather was turning freezing cold. Scipio made a quick decision. He sent his army to Iberia to fight. He rushed back to Italy alone. He wanted to wait for Hannibal there. But Hannibal had friends waiting too. Tribes in northern Italy were ready. They hated Rome and wanted to join him. But first, Hannibal had to survive. The mountains were steep and icy. His men were dying from the cold. The elephants were slipping on ice. But Hannibal never looked back. While Hannibal climbed the Alps, bad news came from the south. The Romans had attacked northern Iberia. The Carthaginian commander there was Hanno. He didn't wait for help to arrive. He fought the Romans with fewer men. The Romans crushed his army. Hanno was taken as a prisoner. Carthage lost control of the region. Hannibal's supply lines were cut. His brother Hasdrubal started small raids. He attacked Roman sailors on the coast, but the damage was already done. Rome now controlled the gateway. Hannibal was cut off from home. He was now truly alone. Hannibal finally crossed the Alps. He lost half of his army to the cold, but he had made it to Italy. The valley below was green and warm. The Gallic tribes welcomed him. They saw him as a hero. Hannibal let his men rest and eat. They needed to be strong again. Rome was in a total panic. They never thought he would survive the ice. Scipio was waiting with a new army. Two great leaders were now in one land. The air felt heavy with war. Hannibal drew his sword. His dream was finally within reach. The ground of Italy began to shake. Hannibal was now a living nightmare. He had done the impossible. Rivers and mountains could not stop him. Rome sent everything they had. But Hannibal was a genius of war. He knew how to trick his enemies. He knew how to win against the odds. The time for talking was over. The bloodiest battles were coming. Hannibal spoke to his tired soldiers. "Victory is the only way home." The soldiers cheered with new life. He had touched the soil of his enemy. This was more than just a war. It was a fight for history. The world would never forget his name. This was the start of the end. The year 218 BC was closing, but the destruction was just starting. Hannibal proved Rome could be hurt. He brought the war to their doorstep. Greater battles were waiting in the plains. Trebia and Cannae were still to come. But the world already knew the truth. The fate of Rome was in his hands. Could one man take down an empire? Could Carthage rule the entire sea? The story was only beginning. Hannibal's name was carved in stone. The long road had led to this. The Lion of Carthage was here. Rome was about to burn. If you want the rest of Hannibal's journey, subscribe. Press the bell. The next battle is coming.